And we're back once again, only on its last call. Last call of the alcohol, only on the last call YouTube channel. And joining me here on location once again, we're starting off New Year. And well, I have my partner Kevin Apollo. And Kevin, well, let's start here with the big question. I'm gonna pull this up because it's New Year, which means for everybody, it's Royal Rumble season. This kicks off everything. So let's start off here with, and I'm gonna pull up there we go. It's February 1st. Is there any plans right now for your WWE? Are you still like trying to figure, okay, what's Rock? What do you want to do? Are you going to do this? Are you not? Can you give us an answer? Like for all those people say, oh yeah, they have plans in place, or this is the plan. How much should we? How much are they bullshit crapping us, and how much are like all of us are there in the dark? Because until The Rock tells you exactly what's going on, you're going. We have a bunch of things, bunch of options, and we're just waiting on The Rock.
Listen, I'm sure that when they say they have plans, there's plans. There's always plans. If you're booking, anybody who's worth their salt, you are planning out your year because you just have to. You have to. And then you're making adjustments for unforeseen circumstances like injuries, new signings, or someone explodes that you didn't expect to explode and you make the adjustment. So they more or less know where they want to go. They more or less know what story beats they want to hit. What'll determine what they do is just, yeah, it's based on availability. The Rock is not a spring chicken, so even if he's saying he wants to, it's a matter of can he. I'm sure that Roman's dance card is full, and I'm positive that they're gonna get to this Rock Roman match sooner rather than later. You're gonna want it at WrestleMania. The story is leading to a place where it's coming to a head. The Rock popped up for no reason. At what pay-per-view was it? Um,
Bad
the,
Blood, which is in St. Louis. Yes.
so he popped up for no reason in St. Louis. It was a good thing. I don't. He shouldn't have popped up at Survivor Series. I think it would have taken away from the OG Bloodlines big win. But now what we're rolling into Monday. The first episode on Netflix. You've got the battle for the Ula Fala. I'm sure Rock will pop up at the end of that, if not on SmackDown. If not on SmackDown, to get us to the next phase of the story. But if you're gonna ask me who's gonna win the Rumble, I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. For my money, I would say you have to. I say you have to go Punk. Just give the people what they want. Give the people what they want, and it's just gonna be a matter of who is Punk actually facing when he gets to the Rumble. I mean, when he gets to Mania.
So let's talk about the new elf in the room. That's John Cena because, and yes, Dave Meltzer supporting this, but also PW Insider, who I give a lot more credence to, because Bill Johnson does an excellent job, has said plans. There are been talks of Cena winning the Royal Rumble, challenging Cody, winning the title because makes sense for a lot of reasons. 17-time champion, Ric Flair sort of goes away from the record book, and it's as I said, they're gonna make money off of this John Cena retirement tour because this is now the hottest retirement tour since the Rolling Stones last retirement tour.
Yeah, I
So
know.
what do they
I,
do? I
I,
guess that's the question here. It's there's Punk. You could always do Drew McIntyre, who I'm guessing has a lot of fans in WWE because he's done a fantastic job last year. When you consider he kept a feud alive of a guy who was injured for 8 months of the year. There's Cena. Like, who makes the decision, and which is it? Do you go with one of the guys who is a part timer in Cena, one of the guys who's a newer signing but had injury risks in Punk, or do you go with a guy who has been the loyal soldier, which is quickly becoming something that gets forgotten a lot?
well, listen, when you look at the WWE, they have no shortage of options. They are enduring an embarrassment of riches. You've got they've got main eventers for days. The any you can throw anybody who has been in the main event into a main event slot, and that includes Jey Uso, and people are gonna gobble it up. They're just gonna gobble it up. The I don't see them putting the belt on Cena. You don't need to. You don't need to. The unless for some reason they really want to do Cena Gunther, where you want to give Cena this mega challenge, and I don't to me doing it, it's just silly. It complicates things, and right now you have a bunch of guys who are dancing around the title, who need the title to be in play, in order to keep their momentum going and to keep them elevated. Like I'll say, like Gunther's over. He's over as he's gonna get. He does not need to roll into WrestleMania as champion. He's had a very decent run. Most WWE title runs, especially his heels, are relatively short. So if he were to drop it somewhere around or after Mania, I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, I just wouldn't be shocked, to set up whatever story we're telling. I don't see Cena and Cody at all, especially when the Orton Owens story is there for the taking. Also, Cody to me is very much so like a Bret Hart type champion. I think we talked about it before. Your typical WWE champion, as a baby face, is larger than life, a mega personality. They're the biggest guy in the roster. They're the loudest guy in the room. And then there's Brett, who was the stark raging opposite of Hogan, but he could work his butt off and he made everybody look good. And when you look at the W Championship through the lens of a Cena, Cody, Cody kind of falls in that Brett lane. You know, he's a good promo, but Cody honestly is as interesting as the conflict ahead of him. So the story, the Orton story tells itself. Orton is a guy who's a sleeper, Mr. WrestleMania. And he's given us a great moment. So I could see them leveraging, Orton's super vet status to kind of give Cody that little extra shine, because Cody's going to need something pretty emotional getting him into Mania. And what's more emotional than your veteran mentor turning on you for whatever reason? It's just, to me, it's just silly to shoehorn John Cena into some places he doesn't need to be. The John Cena is an attraction, same ways the Undertaker was an attraction. The Cena name sells tickets. The people don't care if he has a belt or not. They just want to see John Cena. So let the people who need to get the rubs from just being in the same ring as Cena. Titles just complicate things.
Speaking of rubs, I mean, to get in the Royal Rumble, it's usually a rub. It's hey, you made it here. Hey, it's the big thing. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. And that is there's the online crowd is pushing for Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry in the Royal Rumble.
I believe.
Jordan Grace
I'm
made sense
sure.
because there wasn't enough women. Do you do that vote with Hendry? Because at some point you got to figure out a lot of a rank and file are going to look and go, okay, we've put in our dues, we signed with the company. Like a Chad Gable's going, hey, I re-signed, I've done everything you want. Now I'm going to lose a spot because a guy who's not even on the company's going to get on there. He's not even in the WWE, has no WWE, ties. Like, what the hell are we doing here?
Well, I think you do it just because one, they have established a fantastic working relationship with TNA. Joe Hendry is over. I know for some people it feels like an overnight success, but he's been doing fantastic work for a very long time, and it just caught everybody's attention finally at a moment where they needed it to. Putting Joe Hendry into the Royal Rumble is not that big of a deal. It's no different than throwing in like DDP. DDP is not winning it, but you do it so that the people watching it have the feel good moment. And NXT has done a great job of of making WWE fans aware of TNA talent and telling WWE fans that it's okay to embrace TNA talent. So to me, it's a no-brainer. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's just like last year when they threw Jordan Grace in, they made her look like $1 million. They turned her into a household name in less than 10 minutes. They're going to do the same thing for Joe Hendry because at the end of the day, too, there's upside for them. You help Joe Hendry get to the next level. When you sign him, people are excited that you signed the guy. So it's a no-brainer. It doesn't take away from someone like a Chad Gable. He'll get his Rumble slot. Listen, there are tons of guys on the roster who are just not going to be in the Rumble. And also depends what kind of Rumble we get too. Sometimes you get that Rumble that has a crap ton of comedy spots. Or you get that Rumble where people are just in it to get tossed out, and the story is, this one guy is just cleaning house. So it just depends. It just depends on what kind of Rumble it's going to be. But again, Joe Hendry being in it is a no-brainer, and it does not take away from other guys like Chad Gable. A guy like Chad Gable is going to be in the Rumble. He's just going to be.
So I guess that's the question, like who gets in? Because I was writing this down, and all of a sudden you start looking at you're gonna have at least three or four, let's say three NXT people. Probably an Ethan Page, Trick Williams, Obafemi, because they like doing that. They like getting the kids in. And you're definitely gonna, and this is probably depending like how many world champions. So you take out for now Cody and Owens aren't doing it, and as of now that's it. And probably Gunther's not gonna do it. Then all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute here. You got Karrion Cross, you got Sheamus, you've got both Usos are probably in it. Sami Zayn is in it. You want to get Karrion Cross in it. Now, wait a minute here. You got Braun Strowman's going to get in it. And we say it's not, but all of a sudden, as you said, WWE has like a ton of people. And it's like, oh crap. All of a sudden you go, wait a minute here. Now I've come up with 20 people. Does Braun Strowman not get in? Does Karrion Cross not get in? Does oh crap? Wait a minute here. We might not have enough room for Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu can't get it because as you said, it's partly you don't want to make people weak. Partly you want to get certain big names in. Like
Yeah.
how tough is it here?
Well,
Where that's the issue. We're looking at like oh wow, there's this roster is
listen,
deep.
in the past, we see them get real creative, right? You can be in the match and still appear in the Rumble, or not be in the match and still appear in the Rumble, right? So I'd say like it depends. Like if let's say Solo's in the Rumble, Solo's in the Rumble, um, that the Tongans most likely aren't going to be in it. Just because why waste these spaces? But the Tongans are probably going to have some kind of a spot. You know what I mean? There's a lot of options. There's a lot of options to get guys light, and there's a lot of ways to get guys over. You don't you know the again I something I always try to tell wrestlers whenever we sit down we talk about shows and progressions of storyline. Um, you know, heels lose, good guys win eventually, but at the end of the day, it's more important to get over than go over. So there's a lot of different ways to get people over. Um, you know, per, yes, sure, fine. You want to participate in the Rumble match? Yes. Who doesn't? But just because you're not in the match doesn't mean you're not going to participate. So again, there's again they listen. They've proven many times over, especially during periods when the roster has been stacked, that they can make magic. That they can make magic work. It's the years where they don't really have too many people, where you're like we don't know what we're doing with this Rumble, you know. And I also, and if they really had to, I wouldn't be shocked if they turned around and they pulled another. Well, we're going to throw 40 people in it because we got so many people. Listen, the Rumble's in February. We're in uncharted territory right now, so anything can happen.
Well, let's move on for a Rumble. Let's talk about the new Netflix because that's the big thing here. That's going to set everything up. So, what should we expect this coming Monday? Because, like, oh, great, we've got Rollins and Punk. We've got Roman versus Solo for the for Fuulata. You have just a lot. What should we expect? Because this is like their kickoff, and we know that Paul and Logan. I mean, so Paul and Tyson had a lot of issues. Netflix NFL went swimmingly, but once again, CBS Sports helped produce that. So,
Mhm.
what should we expect with production? Should there be hiccups? And if you're the WWE, how much have you been going over this with Netflix daily? Like, okay, you got to do this, this, and this. Please don't let there be streaming issues. Please don't let there be screw up. Please let this go through swimmingly.
I think it's going to be a lot better. You got to remember too, WWE has the infrastructure for this. The WWE network only sucked the first 15 hours of its first day, right? Once it was able to handle the amount of people that were in it, it hardly ever had issues. Maybe maybe think of I can think of maybe you got a little bit of a lag during a couple of pre-shows, as they were kind of getting it going. The WWE is going to be a fantastic partner for Netflix in the sense that they can teach them how to do a lot of things that they don't know how to do, and vice versa. But I think the WWE's internal production team is going to be the ace in the hole here for getting the show off, without a hitch. I don't really foresee a ton of problems like that. Tyson Paul, that was that was that was independent promoters, an independent company. They were kind of making up as they want, and they didn't foresee the demand. They didn't foresee the demand, and that's, yeah. Listen, there's worse things that can happen, but I don't think the W is going to have that problem.
The perfect world. What do you want to see kicking off this Monday coming up? Like, because we have all these people I know that you want to start building off of this year, 2025. You have a Cena retirement tour. It's okay. Let's kick Braun Breaker into the next level. Gunther, is he going to be a face? Is he going to be a heel? We're not sure. There's Drew McIntyre's march towards avenging everybody, which eventually probably will lead to Roman versus Drew. You have the bloodline. When does that end? Like, what should we expect to see starting Monday?
Oh, I would kick the show off with Cena. Start big. Start big. That promo ends, and now we know who John Cena's first opponent's going to be. And if it's Logan Paul, it's Logan Paul. Why not? Why not? The After that, man, listen, this is going to be a pay-per-view level. It's going to be a pay-per-view level Raw. There's going to be a lot that's going to happen. It's going to be very high energy. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a couple of turns, or a return, or even just a brand new debut. It's I hate to over speculate when on shows like this, just because there are so many things that can happen. Yeah, I like to try to still maintain that fan's eye view, because I think it's very easy to get kind of lost in the weeds and talk about a bunch of stuff people don't really care about. But at the end of the day, man, start off strong, kick it off with Cena. Tell us what he's going to be doing, and then after that, I would think that Roman and Solo should be closing the show. That's probably that's the most consequential match and the biggest storyline in the company. Um, Punk Rollins, sure. If the bloodline is A1, Punk Rollins is A2, but you also still need to have the freedom to say, if we want to do something else with Punk, we can. But you know, I, I yeah, it's yeah, yeah. Again, my thought is you let Punk win the Rumble, and I would say you let Seth take the belt off of Gunther at Elimination Chamber, and you finally and you now you do Punk Rollins, for the highest stakes, and you put that belt on Punk, you give him his WrestleMania win. If he carries it till freaking SummerSlam, hey, it was a big deal. Everybody's happy. You gave, you checked off all the boxes that people want to see. Do we know when they're going to England yet for Mania?
That is the rumor, quote unquote, rumor is next year, but who the hell knows? They're still trying to figure out a lot of other
Yeah.
stuff. But
Well, because I say the reason I say that is because the really big WrestleMania moment for Punk, in my opinion, is Punk versus Cody in Wembley. The so it's tell this, wrap up this portion of it's time to wrap up the CM Punk return storyline. And I don't really think you can do that until he gets past Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. The and after that, it'll free Seth up too. Hopefully, take him off of TV and give him a little bit of time to refresh and recharge. Because we got to make space for Priest. Got to make space for Priest, and Braun Breaker, and and even what the hell is his name?
you can
Even
even say Jey Uso. I mean, there's a lot of people I know
yeah,
who think, hey, Jey Uso deserves a world title run. He is over, and I know that the Marvin movie monster war, like, no, Mania has to die a slow death. But look, for a lot of people, it's like if you are over, that means you should get a world title shot because the fans care. You're rewarding the fans for caring.
over, it's over, man. It is what it is. And I still maintain the Bloodline storyline is not over, because it's gonna end where it started. It's gonna be Roman, and it's gonna be Jay. And Jay will go over Roman to end the Bloodline storyline. This, where we're going with it, it's obvious to me. We're gonna find out that it was the High Chief who told Solo that he needed to become the Tribal Chief to set up Roman Rock. And I keep going. Hopefully, we get it this year. The Rock is not a spring chicken, so every year you delay it, you you run the risk of it not being what it could be. The I don't care how good Dwayne's doctors allegedly are. the you know Time is undefeated. The So I think it's important. I think it's important to get this portion of the storyline out of the way, and reestablish it. Put Roman back on top. Throw who you're going to throw at him. But it's time. You got to also wrap up. You got to do what you got to do to give Jay the next phase of his story too. So I think it's important to get The Rock out of the way. Um, but again, man, they have so many. We didn't even get a chance to talk about LA Knight. Again, these guys have so many options, and really, I think next year's Rumble is going to be the Rumble to watch. That's because whoever wins the Rumble next year is the person who's going to be carrying them. Is going to be the person to be carrying them for probably the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to be that's going to be the man. Whoever wins next year's Rumble.
So we gotta talk about TNA because you and I, sometimes have this love hate relationship, like a lot of people. They're big things, as you said. TNA is now on Nest, and they have a deal. It's not a main deal, but it's a pretty good deal. They have a now clothing line deal. We've seen they're going to be on Canadian Sports Network. We keep they're like Lazarus. We keep thinking they're dead in the water. Then all of a sudden they rise back up. How big is this year for 2025 for them? Because AEW shine is going off. People have gotten really pissed at AEW. WB is getting so overcrowded, and all of a sudden you look at TNA going, if the right things happen, all of a sudden they might be the number 2 wrestling promotion in the world.
Well, listen, the one thing I keep saying, I know the AEW people are going to get really pissy about it, but
Oh, they get pissed with you. I'm surprised you and I have been nominated like biggest AEW haters. You gotta step up your game here, Kevin. I'm disappointed in you. Me,
well,
I understand, you don't know me, but you were like you should have been nominated.
I think my pre-existing shadow bans have helped me not get noticed in certain ways. Although Meltzer loves to respond to any of my quotes, so we'll see. Maybe I'm punching my way through, but I've been saying this forever. There is a lie out there that people love to keep saying. The wrestling business has never been doing so well. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Just because the WWE is doing well does not mean wrestling is doing well. Um, AEW is not doing well. I don't care that they got a TV deal. When you sit down and you break down the math over the amount of time, it was essentially just a cost of living increase. They got the bare ass minimum of TV deals. They did. They just did. Now you factor into stuff with Max. We've got the number from Meltzer. I don't believe that because there's nothing else out there that can corroborate that. So we've just got to wait for the next quarterly call to see what Max is really doing before we know. Are they giving him a little something? Probably. Are they giving him as much as Meltzer saying? I really find that hard to believe. I just do. The Max is probably the only thing that's no. Max is the only thing that's doing well for Warner Brothers, but it's not doing that well. So that seems a little weird to me that they're going to pay like that. They're allegedly paying $3.6 million for an unwatched episode of Dynamite. The it's and if you look at the indies aren't drawing. But the good news is TNA has crawled back out from the abyss, and it's starting to get the love that it should have that they just never really got. It just once they left the asylum, people never really treated TNA with the same love and reverence that it really should have gotten. I don't know if it's because TNA popped up and you know people were people weren't done mourning ECW, and they were still trying to give they were still hoping that ROH would fill the void. So TNA was just another thing there, and maybe the association with Jared Russo, but it just never got the love it should have gotten. And then when we hit the Hogan years, everybody turned on it and they got hypercritical. But I've always maintained that TNA has always had a fantastic product. It hasn't always been the greatest, but it's always been a more than serviceable product. And for the last 4 years, Impact has been the better program. When you look at it versus Dynamite, it just is. It's just a better program. It just doesn't have the money. It just doesn't have the money, but it is the better program. It's got the better characters. It's got the better storylines. Even the more outlandish stuff. It's just a better all around wrestling product. The and it's nice that people are embracing it. It's nice that people are embracing it finally. What this means for 2025, I can't say for certain, but they're doing bigger houses, they're doing more shows. They're easier to find on TV. Growth is growth is growth is growth. They have a fantastic relationship with the WWE. Um, and again, that's kudos to Triple H because he's taking things in a very radically different direction than Vince would have ever done. This would have never ever happened. I know there's speculation out there. This is just trying to prop up some kind of a sale. Who knows? But at the end of the day, um, more mainstream wrestling and presented, more mainstream access to wrestling with that wrestling having a high value production, that is a good thing. That is a good thing. That invites more people to check it out. Again, the Monday Night Wars. Between Monday Night Raw and Nitro, during the peak, you had like 15 million people watching wrestling every Monday. Probably almost 20 when it wasn't football season. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of people watching wrestling. And a lot of people watching wrestling during a really weird time where it was probably a little too salacious for it to have had the crowd support that it had. So to kind of see the groundswell starting, it's a good spot to be in, especially if you're a TNA fan, because you haven't had an easy road. People were saying this company was dead. They were bitching about the Tessa Sammy Callahan feud as a last ditch effort, and they had it done and dusted, and TNA keeps going. Oh hell no, not today, and I think that's great. I think that's great. I listen. And we even have we listen. We even have there's another company out there. They aren't doing too much, but if TNA if TNA can start making inroads and getting access to more networks, with their size and with their production value, that means that there's also a possibility that maybe we can see some momentum for NWA, and we can see some more growth, for those guys. It's a good spot to be in. It's I just I want to see more. I want to see more characters. I want to see the storylines kind of pick up and pace a little bit, pick and pace a little bit, and I want to see. Uh, they do a great job with the women's division, they really do. But I want to see. I want to see a little more robust storytelling. On the mid card side. Give us a few more stories, make it a little more interesting. And just keep doing what you're doing, man, because it's working. It's working. You know.
Who should they target? Because that's always because in the past TNA under the previous management, it was always we're gonna get every WWE guy that gets cut because hey, it was the AEW mentality I call it, the hey somebody got cut from WWE, let's sign them, and next thing you know they're getting pushed to the stars.
Well, I get it's because you need name value, dude. It's all about name value. So even a lower level WWE guy had more eyes on him than your highest level guy. So you sign who's available. I think TNA. I honestly I would like to see TNA do a little bit of both. Let's grab maybe one or two you know guys who were around who didn't break through, but it's also time to start elevating some higher tier indie talent that the world needs to get a little exposure to. The yeah, I just it's one of the things that was fantastic about old school TNA is that um is that they had a constant influx of indie talent. And if they rose to the occasion, they stayed. Jeff Jarrett had a phenomenal eye for talent, still does, but Jeff Jarrett had a phenomenal eye for talent. The so I would like to see TNA get a little more aggressive with pulling in some indie talent and giving them a go. Giving them a go and see if you put some polish on them. But they're in a really good spot. They have a very solid roster. It just needs to be a little bit bigger so you can get a little more variety in terms of storytelling. Um, yeah, I would like for them to kind of lean more into the classic teenage strengths of we work with other promotions so we can bring in someone real quick to do a little something, but tell the story. But tell the story, right? Because right now the modern wrestling fan, I don't, I'm not talking internet person, but the modern wrestling fan, they're a little more savvy. They know that the countries exist. I should say that the companies exist in other countries. So let's do something where you introduce someone from AAA, just off the top of my head. Introduce us to a hot tag team from AAA, and let them raise a little hell, with the champions or with the number one contenders for a little bit, and then give us a great big old blow off, and then send them on their merry way, just to keep things interesting. just to keep things interesting. Listen, that was one of the things that ECW did extremely well. The with rotating in, like guys like Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka, and Hayabusa. It's I like to see a little tiny return to that.
With everything going on, and right now it's a booking by committee. And I was thinking about this because I've talked off air, on air, like who do you get? Like if because it's back in the day you could go, well, we can get Jet Jarrett left. Oh, bring Scott Demore. Scott Demore left. Oh, let's go and we'll get like a Vince Russo. We're seeing less of that now. It's Vince Russo's, the Bischoffs, the Cornettes. They're done. Demore's gone. He's in Maple Leaf Pro. Jarrett's in AEW. How tough is and especially now with where pro wrestling is more of a TV product, which means you're trying to get people who can write a story like a drama or an action hero movie. Like, who do you get? Like, who's out there? And if you're TNA, is it time to start going? Okay, let's get out of the box. Let's go, mate. Is Robert Rodriguez available? Hey, is somebody from Sons of Anarchy available? Like, is it time for them to start going? Well, we need somebody who can actually write stories. Understand that TNA is not a wrestling show; it is a wrestling TV entertainment show.
I think that's the next phase, right? Yes, wrestling, it's sports entertainment. I know it's a dirty word for a lot of people, but it's sports-based entertainment. And if you're going to be successful, you have to have the Dusty Rhodes mentality of we make movies. Everything you do, every feud is a mini movie. That plays a part in a larger movie. The so you need people who understand that. Personally, instead of going out and getting a showrunner from a spot like Sons of Anarchy, I say you gotta go dig up these old soap opera writers. These are people. I say with soaps, these people keep unbelievable schedules. Soap operas, for the few that we have left, run all year round. Run all year round. They have enormous casts. And they have to weave in, three if not five storylines, in a single episode. And by the time you get to the end of the month, everything has to be going in some kind of weird, crazy direction. And by the time you get to the end of the second month, two of these storylines have to overlap somehow. And you have to roughly every 90 days get to some kind of a conclusion, but something that doesn't completely and totally take the storyline off the table until it's time to take that storyline off the table. So I think that's where where the real TV where the real TV power, um in terms of being able to communicate to a broader audience, that's where it's going to come from. You got to grab soap opera writers, because they're used to being in the shit, for the part of the expression. Tons of people, tons of egos, um constant chaotic kinetic energy, and being able to have to change an entire story on the fly because for some reason someone dropped out, and they're going to be off the table for a minute or two. The I think that's where you go, and that's why the WWE for years has relied on soap opera writers, has relied on stand-up comedians, um, because again, those are guys who they have to be very quick, work and have to be able to improv, and have to be able to roll with punches. W's been very, very, very long ahead of the curve on that. So I think if other places start doing that, you'll start to see you'll start to see an across the board evolution of the product. I don't think I don't think that your typical TV showrunner is where you need to be at just yet. Maybe if you let's say something like let's say you want to do something really funky with the Last Testament, then maybe if you wanted to bring in a specialty writer, to kind of oversee that storyline, that may be a way to go. Because hey, we want to tell the story. We're gonna tell it over the course of the next 15 weeks. Help us get there. Help us get there. These are our characters, as the roster exists now. These are their strengths. Tell me what you see, and let's tell me how you think we get there. And then it's you're off and running. But aside from that, man, TNA I think is being booked very well. The team that they have in charge right now, they're doing a phenomenal job. And the proof is in the pudding. That the house, it's always about the house. That they're drawing more people than they have drawn in a very long time, and the enthusiasm is there. Of the being the forefront in terms of the public zeitgeist. They're there. They are w- because simply because they do not have a TV deal on a legacy network like a TNT or a TBS, and the fact that they don't have a bunch of money is the only reason they are not the actual number two. That is it. So it's just a matter of some formalities, right? It's ease of access that stops them from being number two. But make no bones about it. For all intents and purposes, TNA is the number two company. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, we end this whole segment with that's right, people. AEW. We're getting out of the nitty gritty. I'm so excited here. I just can't hide it, Kevin. Yes, the Point Sisters are now the
Dude,
official song for Dynamite. I could hear you just start like, oh my god, Grandma, you gotta watch. You don't understand this music. Like, what's the outlook for him this year? I mean, they've now have a TV deal, but even then, we keep going. Well, they can't go any lower. We keep saying, yeah, everybody's going lower. So with everything going on with this new music, is this the year where all of a sudden, Zavsov's going, I might have to get rid of these people because they're under 500 and I need to save my job.
Listen, it's possible. Listen, I'll put out there. It's possible. Right now, this is on to me, in my opinion, on the WBD side, this is a relationship of convenience. They just need something that produces content. That tells people, here's one more excuse to go to Max. Now listen, the um when we look at how sports in general are performing in the ratings, I would say that the WB dodged a bullet by losing the NBA, right? The NBA is not worth the money that they tried to extort from Warner Brothers. It was only by virtue that Amazon could pay it that they got it. But we're talking 70%. We're talking a 70 almost 70% contraction and total viewership. The I don't know how much longer the NBA can try to pretend that this isn't a problem. They have butchered the game, and tried to make it more European, so that we can appeal to the more European market. But you're losing the folks at home who actually butter the bread. That's a different conversation for another day. But the AEW can kind of slide around and flop around like a fish gasping for air on the floor next to the broken bowl. And it doesn't look as bad because the bigger fish are also flopping around doing the same thing next to them. The the Warner Brothers does not have money. They haven't had money in probably a decade. CNN isn't worth three nickels. They isn't worth three nickels to rub together. Cartoon Network doesn't exist anymore for all intents and purposes. Um, all their other subsidiaries, again, $0 valuation. The only thing that's worthwhile is Max. So while they're trying to rebuild from the inside out without having to over rely on reality TV, and taking away from taking away from their other networks that rely on that. Um, Sports-based entertainment is gonna be there. Where I would be worried for AEW is what happens if Billy Corgan does get his act together, and all of a sudden the NWA is resurgent. What happens if TNA continues to continues to rebound, and now all of a sudden their value proposition is looking a lot shinier than AEW's. The fine Tony's pretty secure for the next 3 years, but they have no guarantee on that fifth. And just because you have a commitment to go to a fourth doesn't mean you can't be dropped and canceled and swapped out for something else. That's the reality that AEW faces. AEW is its own worst enemy. We're more than 5 years in. We still don't we still produce live TV like it's like we're still trying to figure it out, and we're still at the start of our second year. You can pretty much predict what nonsensical promo you're gonna get depending on what happened on the internet. I'm tired of FTR coming out and giving me the rah rah AEW is the greatest thing on earth speech. Um, I'm tired of someone debuting and then they vanish. Like the three weeks and then they're gone for 26 weeks. The we've got so many tweeners. You got so many tweeners. You can't tell who's heel and you can't tell who's face. The and for people who have been watching the show from the get-go, um, how do you explain to someone who is new to the show who's who? Because you can't explain it. You can't explain it to them like they're five. It's just too damn complicated. So how do you pull in new people? Also, too, wrestling, you know, yes, wrestling is a family show. It's a family event. Yes, you have your niche products where you can cater to a more to an older audience or some kind of weird fetish entertainment nonsense. But wrestling on TV is a family product. If AEW cannot figure out how to grab a younger base, because once you got your younger base stays your forever base. WWE, a WWE 65-year-old was at one point in time a WWE 10-year-old. That is just the meat and potatoes of it. They know how to maximize the life cycle of their fandom and keep the machine perpetually fed. AEW has lost roughly, and I'm going to be conservative, but year over annually, AEW loses roughly 20 to 25% of its audience. So in 5 years, they've lost what? Almost 62% of who was watching episode one. And sure, it's curiosity, people want to know what's going on. Everybody tunes into the first episode, but we're 5 years in. All TV shows lose people during the pilot. They lose people from the first season of the second season. But by the time you get to the third season, you know exactly what your audience looks like. There should be stability there. And now you're in a spot to try to grow it. I think the last time we spoke, I mentioned this. What the hell is the name of that show? Tyler Perry's Sisters, right? So Meltzer loves to scream about how the cable TV audience is shrinking year over year, and people don't watch TV the same. Okay, great. You know, but we also got to be honest, like cutting the cord is actually more expensive than just having cable now. So if a show like Tyler Perry's Sisters on BET, which is a medium tier network that's been around for a long time, um, if a show like that can grow its base after being on for 7 seasons by over 25%, that means that there's a lot of people who decided to start watching TV out of nowhere. So to me, that's no excuse. And if AEW didn't have the Big Bang Theory as a lead-in for his first hour, there'd be even fewer people actually watching the show. I didn't see the ratings for this week. I haven't had a chance to kind of peek in there to see what was going on. What was the disaster number? Do
Oh,
we
I don't
know
even
yet?
know yet. I haven't looked because either way, it's going to be like, okay, fine. It was January 1st. I'm giving you a pass. It's like, I'm guessing I'm looking at this year. It's like, what are your predictions? Because there's almost no plan. Like TNA at least seems to have a plan. WB always has plans. Even NWA, it's like, well, they're going into a plan, sort of, maybe. We hope. Is there a plan for AEW this year? Like, what are your predictions in terms of what you think might happen this year? Or is it just like, well, we have week by week plans, and then after that, Tony will get bored.
Well, it's the listen. We know the problem is Tony. Tony has not learned any of the important lessons he needs to learn. Um, so fine, we're gonna try to recreate the Terry Funk magic with Jeff Jarrett by having him be the older guy who's competing for the heavyweight title.
I mean, isn't Edge doing that also? I mean, he's
But
isn't
yeah,
Jericho doing that? He's an older guy. Wait, what about Christian Cage? He's an older guy. I mean, that's half AEW's roster right now is older guys.
well, that's it. It's older WWE guys. At some point in time, you're gonna have to stop, and you're gonna have to internally evaluate who are the people on our show that people pay attention to. 60% of anybody who has name value, they were not homegrown. They came from the WWE. They just did. The 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 anybody else, Kenny Omega and Kenny Omega, so yeah, non-W. So we're gonna go Omega, um, MJF, Darby, MJF, Darby. Let's see, who do you got after that? And Paige. Everybody else is a star because you keep telling us that they're a star. The and even then, MJF has more than lost his luster. I think people are kind of starting to see it's the same lame ass promo it's the same lame ass promo every time he picks up a microphone. He's gonna curse a little bit. He's gonna drop some insider lingo. He's gonna say something maybe a little inappropriate, but it's the same bullshit. Same bullshit. It's over. Max needed to be in an environment, or needs to be in a feud where the person is going to force him out of his comfort level and make him grow. There is no one in AEW who can do that other than MVP. But do you do it? I doubt it. I don't think Tony's brain can think that way. The the there's well, let's just look at the world title situation. We'll ignore the 4,000 other titles and stop and just not pretend that the tag titles mean something. The You have 8 different storylines going on right now, right? The Neo Moxleys are running wild for whatever reason. They have a beef with AEW, even though the Bucks and Okada had a beef with AEW, but they seem to have forgotten that. So Moxley's holding the title hostage for whatever reason. The Okay, fine. Christian Cage has a guaranteed title shot, but doesn't someone else have a guaranteed title shot too?
I think all of them have guaranteed dollar shots. As he said, it's Tony gets bored, he creates something. Then he gets on board, and then he gets bored again. Like,
Yeah. So I at least like here. So here's a quick. You know what I would do? Here's something quick and easy because honestly you have to move this belt around a little bit. You kind of have to do a little. You have to kind of go a little Russo era with the belt, and bounce it around guys who are important to just to get the belt a little traction. I would let Cope, ugh, I would let Cope take the belt off of Moxley, and before Cope can get too comfortable, have Christian cash in and ruin Edge's moment. The Let Christian have a nice little heel run where he's ducking, dodging, and weaving any and all challengers, and then he finally gets caught. And now he has to do some kind of major defense. It could even be more than one guy in the match. And now you put it back. You either put it on someone who you probably should have put it on a very long time ago, or you put it back on someone who everybody kind of started to rally around. Who could that be? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The And then after that, once that person kind of has their run, once that person kind of has their run, then you have to put that belt on Lashley. You have to put the belt on Lashley because what's the point of bringing Bobby Lashley there? Once you get the belt on Lashley, okay, different kind of story. You have Black Jiren, technically someone who they don't have too many people on that roster who should even bring this guy to a knee, let alone be anywhere near remotely close to beating him. So now it's time to start build up your Big Bill, build up your Wardlow, rebuild for the 400th time your Wardlow, um, your Powerhouse Hobbs, and even a Samoa Joe, just to kind of get them back into the flow of things. Tony is adversely allergic to larger wrestlers and wrestling shows, but it's a big man's world. If you want to be taken seriously, you got to start showing some big men. You got to start showing big men doing big man stuff. The Darby, fine. I don't, but fine, actually, maybe Darby is the person who takes it over Christian. The But you got to wrap up all the nonsense, lame shit from 2024, and honestly start fresh. Dude, honestly, I would listen. To be straight up honest with you, I would pull a 2000 WCW. I'd strip all those titles. I'd dump a bunch of the bullshit titles that no one gives a crap about. I'd boil it down to your main ones: heavyweight title, mid card title, tag titles, women's title. Um, I even rid of the dumb trios titles. Just keep it down to the shit that people want to care about. If you want to do an annual, they love to do the tournaments. And I would find you could have two tournaments. One is a six man tournament. Um, one of the six man tournament that you can build to, if you want to do your trios nonsense. But knock it down to the core essential titles, get rid of everything the hell on else, and reestablish a new pecking order. The and just go from there. This show is stuck in a hell of its own making, and it's the same lame ass shit every week, and no one cares. No one cares.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are always proud to have on the show with the man with the 26-inch pythons. Unfortunately, he's not going away, folks. Donald Trump, unfortunately, could not hire him away as security. So he's with us. I give you it is the largest, muscle guy natural in the world, Kevin Apollo. So, Kevin, we're once again, first, oh, by the way, congratulations on your Christmas show. So, where can fans check you out at? Where is the Twitter, Instagram, and the website? Also, once again, for your March show, which I know you're already working on because you never sleep, where can fans check out ACW Wrestling?
So, Instagram and Facebook, ACW_Coliseum. Actually, it's the same branding across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Starting in a couple of weeks, we're gonna kind of relaunch all the social medias, and one of the plans over the next couple of months is to reintroduce the brand to everybody. COVID kind of derailed things, and with me being by myself, it just got a little overwhelming. So I haven't done a good a job as I initially wanted to, with having the product available to anybody who's kind of popping in and out. But I'm going to start putting up some old matches. Start re-putting up some old promos, and gonna pay a couple kids to just edit some things together, like some little music video packages. Say, hey, this is some of the stuff that we've done, and then I'll post some of the some of the bigger shows like our mall shows on YouTube Rumble, and on Instagram stories, and yeah, just sit tight. I'm gonna put a lot of effort into kind of get everybody caught up into the brand and what the brand means, and then in March, I believe March 22nd. I'm going to be, kind of relaunching with the Coliseum Challenge, and telling some fun new stories. So, hopefully by then we should also be live streaming it. So, um, the whenever we go live, we'll be live streaming off of the Instagram, the ACW Coliseum, ACW underscore Coliseum, and probably YouTube and Rumble. And if I can figure out Twitch or what's it called, Kick, it'll be there too. So other than that, just be patient, help us out, give us some follows. If you anybody you'd like to see, whether they're a local indie guy or name that you think that I could potentially afford. Just remember I'm poor. Feel free to participate in the discussion, and we'll keep it light, we'll keep it fun.
Kevin and Paul, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on a pleasure to have you on the show. We come back, a lot more going on here, only on its Last Call. Last Call with the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube channel.